How do you prove to someone that you are right for that job when you have nothing to show for it? Rich School, Poor School by Milad Amani. This week in Rich School, Poor School, I want to do something more practical. Instead of just talking about the invisible gaps, I want to explicitly explain those rules. Because some people absorb those rules early on, and others are forced to learn late. Not because they're failures, but because exposure is uneven. So this week is all about making the invisible visible. Let's start there. Now, the first rule I want to talk about is you are allowed to ask. You are allowed to ask for clarification, for an opportunity, and for help. Others learn that asking for help is being a burden, but the system actually works around asking questions. Silence is not a strength, and that is something that I had to learn as well. And the way it worked for me is that I really had to do some introspection and humble myself. Look in the mirror and think, you are not that important. What I mean by that is I had we overinflate our significance in other people's lives. You start overthinking because of that. Oh, if I ask for this, if I ask for the clarification, they're going to think this, and then they're gonna go home and tell their wife or their kids, and you're going to look stupid. But if you take a moment to understand that you play no significant role in their life, it removes that pressure of asking for something because they're going to forget in about 10 seconds that you even asked anything. No one cares more than you do. And once I realized that, maybe I asked too many questions. Some people say, oh, you just ask whatever you think. You never shy away from asking a question and asking for a clarification. No, I want to learn. And the only way you'll learn is by asking questions. Of course, you need to know about the time and place, but you naturally pick up when to ask a question. And also, if someone makes you feel bad about asking a question, that's their business. But most people will forget. Don't suffer in silence because no one is going to know what you're thinking. The only way they'll know is by you asking that question. No one can clarify anything because they will assume that you just understand or that you're comfortable or that you're content. And that lack of communication, it will be your own downfall. Moving forward to the second rule, confidence comes before proof. I'll say this again. Confidence comes before proof. A lot of people think you need proof before you're confident, but it's the opposite way. You need confidence before you have proof. People speak before they're certain. People apply before they're ready. People even ask before they're qualified. That's not arrogance, it's you building momentum. So, confidence is key. And confidence is key. Confidence is so important. I've said it in my previous videos, and I'll keep saying it in my other videos. If you don't act like you belong in that room, no one else will believe it. So at least act it. I understand you can't maybe feel it, but act it is very different. The best example I can give you where it was quite daunting for myself was when I applied for my first ever legal job. My CV was packed with being a waiter, working in retail, working in customer service, but not one shed of legal experience. Now, how do you prove to someone that you are right for that job when you have nothing to show for it? You come in with confidence. You show them why they should give you a chance. And that's exactly what I did. I listed out the things I could do. Maybe it didn't match the job description, but I was confident enough to make them feel confident and give me a chance. I beat people that came from Oxford and Cambridge, and I went to the University of Birmingham. So it's nothing compared to those two universities. And somehow they gave me the opportunity. So please understand that you need to be confident, and then afterwards, you need to follow it up with proof. That is also very important. So, yeah, just looking at the next note I took, I think this one is quite contentious, and maybe people might be confused. But here's a rule many people don't know: job descriptions are wish lists, they are not requirements. Most people hired don't match every single line on that job description. So, If you are worried about being 100% right, you'll usually be too late. So apply when you're close, not when you're perfect. I don't think much needs to be said about this. Job descriptions are just things that you end up learning. But what you need to do is convince them that you can learn those things if you don't already have that skill set. And I think a good example is that I studied law. I did quite social A levels, or like, sorry, I studied law. I have a master's in law, and then I became a teacher in Hong Kong. Now you tell me how my background fits that kind of role. It didn't, but I proved to them that I'm adaptable and I can make those changes, and I can work in different environments whereby that wouldn't be an issue. And it wasn't, because once I did have the job, I backed it up. So they, even though they were looking for an experienced teacher that can help them with, or someone with previous experience working with children, I didn't have that. I've always worked with adults, but I allowed my skill set to speak for itself, where they could overlook the requirements that they had. And I didn't regret it. I don't think they regretted it. So it worked out. So keep that in the back of your head, that if you see an opportunity and it could be ready for you, or it could be for you, but you need this tiny little thing or something else, just go for it. I think the only thing that could set it back is if there is a hard requirement, such as you need a clean driver's license and the role is all about driving, or you need a law degree because, or you need a medicine degree to be a doctor. Now, those are hard requirements, but all the other ones, they're negotiable. It all depends on the person. Moving on to the fourth rule: exposure beats planning. Now, I am a person that likes to do. I support doers, people that plan. Oh, yeah. My name is Milad, and I am not a planner, because this is one of the invisible rules. Some people plan endlessly, and others, they start early on and just adjust, because you learn much faster from exposure than from preparation. And you don't need that full picture. You just need the picture for the next room. Momentum will bring that clarity, because I planned for a month how to do this series. I have notebooks on how to approach it to make sure it's perfect, because I have an objective that I want to make sure comes across. Now, in all my preparations, as soon as I started recording, things went wrong. That I could have learned if I started. I feel I just started 1 month ago. I would have learned it then, and then my preparations would have been much more prepared. So, one of them is that YouTube Shorts and TikTok, you need to record vertically versus YouTube clips, which are horizontally. Never knew that until I actually started doing it. And I learned that much faster than any book, any YouTube video could teach me. And even my public speaking, I never knew that I had so many fillers until I started to do it. So I'm a true believer that just do it, try it, don't over prepare. Hopefully, you get the gist. And like I said before, if anything is unclear, if you need me to speak to you about a specific topic more, or to elaborate on something, just put it in the comments, give me a like, and we'll move from there. I'm very happy to help. I hope this next point and rule will give you reassurance to do whatever you want, or to feel more comfortable whenever you think you are lost. Most people are guessing. Here's something that will change everything. Most people don't know exactly what they're doing. They adjust publicly. And once you realize that, that will reduce your fears, because certainty is very rare in reality. I think that's the same in my work environment, where I have worked with partners who need to be at, you would think they're the elite and the top of their field, or they're working at the top of their field. And they'll tell me, I don't know what the guy on the call was saying, but let's just figure it out. Let's do some research and we'll figure out. You have to, once you see that even the person you're looking up to is still figuring stuff out. You understand that they're human, and it breaks a barrier of you're the student, they're the master. Instead, you realize everyone is just human, and you can relate to people much more once you realize that. And you feel more at ease asking questions, asking for clarifications, and just being okay with not knowing something. Which then moves me on to the next rule, which is here's the part that people don't talk about. Most people wait for permission, permission to lead, permission to act, permission to apply for something. Others, they assume permission and then adjust if they get challenged. You have to take initiative. You won't regret it. When you take initiative, what you're doing is maybe you're not asking for permission, but you're thinking this is a good idea. What can happen is, as long as you know what the risks involved are, is that you might have an idea that no one thought about, but by asking it, someone with a mindset would be like, no. They would say no, and you never get to experiment on that. But the way to figure things out is by doing it. And then if it doesn't work out, you can always apologize. Obviously, it depends on the scenario, but I trust that you know when that scenario is okay. Last but not least, let's do some self reflection. Making the invisible visible. Now, once rules are visible, they lose their power. Most disadvantage doesn't come from ability, it comes from missing information. And once those rules are clearly explained, people move differently. This is what the series is all about. Understanding is leverage. When you understand things, you're ahead of everyone. And that is what the series is actually about. I want everyone to be on equal footing, ready and understanding of once you know those invisible rules, those rules that no one else makes you aware of, you will be better off for it. And you will be able to understand maybe nuances that you couldn't understand before, or it helps you put into words things you just felt, but you didn't know what that feeling was. If this helped, give me a like, give me a follow, and peace out. If this helped you see something more clearly, that's the point of this series. If you want to keep following the series, subscribe here.